so I kind of just like left it at that. They're safe, they're alive.
What happened? You know what happened. You were there when it happened. We're not BSing you, okay?
When that happened, can I...
There is a criminal case being tried in Wisconsin right now, and they've released the footage of the interrogation of the main suspect publicly. And it is one of the best case studies I've ever seen. In this video, I'm going to take specific clips from that interrogation, and we're going to talk about how to spot deceptive language, how to spot honesty, how to see changes in behavior, and how to properly baseline someone. The case is about husband and wife Krista and Bart Halderson, who some months ago went missing, and just recently they found the body of the husband. Now, the primary suspect is their 23-year-old son Chandler, and in this video we're looking at clips from his interrogation. Now, since this is an ongoing case and a verdict hasn't been reached, I'm going to try to be very unopinionated when it comes to guilt or innocence. I'm going to speak about behavior, I'm going to speak about deception indicators, but I am not a forensic analyst, I am not a judge, I am not a jury. I am only pointing out the behaviors here. I want to begin by looking at his baseline, which is the reason I believe this is a really, really great video to analyze. There are 4 baseline behaviors that I want to talk about, and I will leave the link to the entire interrogation in the description so you guys can go check out the entire hour-long interrogation. But right here with some clips, I'm going to show you what these 4 behaviors are. The first one is over-specification. Now, when we're over-specific in an interrogation or in an interview, this is typically a really good sign of deception. When someone's being over-specific, giving you a whole lot of detail, they're trying to be honest and trying to convey to you, look how honest I am, I'm giving you everything. Now, I want you to keep in mind, he's here talking about his missing parents. And you would think he's trying to get to the point a little more, trying to help, but he is talking about the most mundane things in such insane amount of detail, and this is throughout the entire video. Whether he's being asked a question, whether he's recalling something, it basically looks like this.
Well, I think that could have been Tuesday morning. Okay. At Quick Trip, I got a coffee. And I used my dad's number at a Quick Trip to get me the free one, because it was the Cruise of Gold. Yeah. I could have afforded it, but you know, there's a free one, and it's Tuesday, or it wasn't Monday, I could have gotten a $1 one, but it was full price, I believe, and I grabbed the coffee because it was a free one. He hasn't used it for weeks, so I grabbed that at a Quick Trip.
I personally don't believe that anyone on this planet is that over-specific as part of their day-to-day baseline. In this interrogation specifically, I think he's giving all these details to come off as honest and also to sort of buy himself time. The second behavior that is very present in his baseline is facial touching. Now, facial touching is probably the most researched sign of deception, and he's doing it a lot, especially in the beginning of the interrogation. The first 10-15 minutes, constantly collapsing his body language and doing this. Now, there are 2 reasons I believe this is happening. One, I believe he is stressed throughout this entire interview. I don't think, again, that anyone in their day-to-day life can possibly touch their face that often. Second of all, I believe that he has a habit, an indulgence that he's being deprived of. I think he smokes. I don't know if it's cigarettes or other substances, but I think these are nervous tics because he needs to indulge. Now, this is mostly present in the beginning, and at some point, and honestly, the interrogators are so patient and it pays off, because at some point he calms down a little, and as he's talking, he touches his face much, much less. It's still there, but it's nowhere near that insane amount in the beginning. The third element of his baseline is a really good clue that what we're getting here is a lot of rehearsed script. Like he went through his head about what he was going to say. So if we're having a normal conversation, you ask me to recall something, you're gonna see my eyes kind of shift around, and I might repeat things to myself. So I might say something like, Wednesday night, Wednesday night, Wednesday night. So as I look around to, what did I do Wednesday night, Wednesday night, Wednesday night? That's not what we're seeing in his case. We're seeing almost he mutters to himself as he looks down. So he's not shifting, looking for something. He looks down in one specific location and he kind of mutters to himself, okay, Wednesday morning. So It's like he's telling himself, okay, go to that place in the story that you're telling.
It had to be 7:30 I left the farm, which is Cress's.
7:30 p.m.
Cress's is the farm.
Okay.
So after that's Tuesday?
Yep.
That's Tuesday.
Does it necessarily indicate deception? Not really. It can mean that, you know, before he came in, he collected his thoughts and sort of thought of what was important and how he was going to tell it. But at the very least, it indicates that there was some sort of plan in his head of how he was going to tell this. The fourth important thing to note about his baseline, and this is where profiling comes in really handy in interrogation, is that he is a pity seeker. A lot of what he says quite regularly is aimed at making you or the interrogator feel bad for him. Oh, poor you. Now here's a couple of examples.
Yeah, I've been getting the migraines from all of the hits and stuff. I tried. I can't get it out. I don't know how to do that, but I was pinching it pretty dang hard, but which was also cutting deeper because I had another, or might still have another piece of glass. Also, head pain. Do you guys have like Tylenol or something? With the Volvo's seat, it, like, just, you know, I can't do it with my foot. Okay.
So looking for pity is not necessarily a sign of deception, but an internalized locus of focus can be. In other words, in an investigation where someone that you care for is missing and you're supposed to be focused on them, the fact that you're focusing on yourself instead can be an indication of deception. So all these things are part of his baseline, which tell us, first of all, his mindset coming into this interrogation, and second of all, kind of help us shift our gears a little bit to look at his specific answers and know that some things are going to hold more weight than others. Okay, now we're going to jump right into the interrogation and look at specific answers and talk about what they suggest. But before we do that, do me a huge favor, guys. Hit that subscribe button, turn those notifications on for more amazing lie detection and behavior analysis.
I think I called my mom. Oh, throughout I've called, I don't know the times though. Throughout the weekend, I mean. But I called my mom, I believe, in the morning. There's along those lines, and I get a text from her. It was a text message. It wasn't even an iMessage, so I couldn't figure out where she was because it was a text. There was no iMessage, so I kind of just like left it at that. They're safe. They're alive.
Okay, so we're starting really strong with something bone-chilling that he said there. But basically, his story is that his parents went to the cabin for the weekend, and here he's talking about, in this specific portion of his story, whether he reached out or not. So he's saying, I think I called my mom, an immediate lip compression. Now, lip compression is something we do when we're withholding an opinion. It also happens during deception. At the very same time, we're seeing digital flexion. Both his hands go into fists, which is, again, a high indicator of stress. When your fingers come inwards like this, he's once again crumbling and his hand is touching his head. This is very much part of his baseline, this crumbling, so I'm not going to give it as much importance as I normally would, but I'm also not going to ignore it. Also, notice how he said twice it was a text message, it wasn't an iMessage, like it's important. It's not important. And he says it the same way with the same tonality, and this is, again, something that indicates rehearsed story, that he's using that same, like he's just sticking to that script. There's something else becoming really apparent in this clip, and it has a lot of different terms for it in the behavior analysis industry. A lot of different people call it different things. Some call it word salad, some call it verbal leaks, some pair it together with hesitancy, some pair it together with non-answer statements. I just call it fluff. Basically, it's whatever is extra and doesn't belong in that answer. Like there's a question and there should be a simple answer, and anything that's extra in order for the person to buy time. And in this case, there's so much. There's all this and all these extra lines that just don't really add context. Like I called her, I think, in the morning or something along those lines. Along what lines? Morning. It was in the morning, it was at noon. Like, when did you call it? That's it. So all this extra fluff, but nothing compares to that last thing he said. I left it at that. They're safe. They're alive. What?
Kind of just like left it at that. They're safe. They're alive.
Now think about this. It's totally different if you're texting a friend you haven't talked to in a couple of days and in a sort of joking, exaggerated way you say, hey man, are you alive? But this is totally different. First of all, there's nothing joke about this. You're having a very serious conversation about your missing parents at the time. And second of all, he is an extremely literal person. He never uses metaphors. He never uses exaggerations. He's very literal. Everything he says is even over literal. So this is extremely far from baseline for him. Why wouldn't they be alive? Like, why did you say to yourself, oh, it's fine, they're alive? There's no reason to think that. This is totally a verbal slip. He is basically saying, oh yeah, it's totally fine. They texted me, everything's fine, they're alive. There's nothing to worry about, they're alive.
A little worried. I think I called my mom that day.
All right.
And then it's always the voicemail, instant voicemail. You know when you...
Yeah.
So it's off, out of range. I don't know the other factors that could give you that.
It's like a voicemail right away. Goes right to voicemail, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So whatever factors can give you that.
We are seeing a pretty significant cluster here. First of all, when he says, I think I called my mom that day, this is pure experience talking. A thought enters his head, and it's a very unpleasant one because you almost see, it almost looks like he's about to start crying. When he says that, his mood just drops, his eyes droop like this, and his whole energy goes downwards, and both his hands come up, which is rare. Usually it's just the one hand. Both come up and block his ears. This is just experience talking, but as he talked about that, or his mom, as he remembered his mom or that conversation, something entered his mind that was very unpleasant to hear connected to his mom. As he comes up, he continues to pick at this area. It's a very sort of stressful picking. And then his hand comes around and does a throat clasp. This is very significant. It's not part of his baseline. He does it in this entire interrogation, maybe twice, maybe 3 times. Throat clasping is very defensive, and we do it in the face of a threat. You're protecting a very sensitive area of your body. Once again, we have that over specification on the wrong thing. So he talks about the important thing for just a second, and then it's like, you know, I don't know if it was direct to voicemail or if it's out of range or what the different features are. I'm going to help you guys figure out what the different features of a phone are, because that's really important, except it's not. So a lot of experts call this chaff and redirect. A lot of experts call this isolated denial. So he's talking about the important thing, then all this fluff and all this garbage about phone settings.
Yeah, well, they just fed me. They didn't eat.
Okay.
They just wanted to brainstorm.
Any good ideas come out of it?
No.
Okay. So you said you
We
went...
only could think of Dan, and Dan's been here.
Yeah. So you said you went...
What you just heard is the briefest response in the entire interrogation. It's the only one where he just gives a one-word answer. And it's probably the most important question of the entire interrogation. He's talking about how he was at his friend's house and they just wanted to brainstorm, to talk about what is going on, which is what innocent people do. And when the interrogator asks him, did anything good come from the brainstorm? One word, no. Where's all that over specification? You know, I was having a salad with 3 tomatoes as we were talking about the barn and what happened on 2nd Avenue the day before. Like, where's all those extra details? This is the time for those, and all we get is a no. Oh, well, hold on, wait a second. Dan came up, but you guys already talked to him, so that can't be it. He is offering 0 help and 0 details where it's the most important.
Did your dad get injured at all when the glass broke? Did he step on any
He sent me up, but I don't doubt it. When he gets mad, he's not thinking.
So we don't know if your dad got hurt.
No.
Okay.
No. But my best guess is that guy reached in the fireplace and cut off his arm or something. I don't know.
I can give you a 1-hour lecture about his body language here alone, but The most important thing I want to talk about is the brilliance of the interrogator on this one. So basically, he's talking about how he broke the glass in front of the fireplace and he was bleeding. And the interrogator does something called planting a mind virus. He asks him, did your father also hurt himself? Basically, he's saying, are we going to find some of your dad's blood there as well? Because he wants to see what he's going to do with this. This guy's answer is he doesn't know because he wasn't there, but he doesn't doubt it that the father hurt himself as well. And then he says, my best guess is that guy reached into the fireplace and hurt himself or cut himself or whatever. That guy. Well, that guy is your father. This is called psychological distancing. When we use words that put distance between us and someone else, psychologically, we're trying to detach ourselves from what happened. So yeah, that guy, that's a big sign. Second of all, why is that your best guess? The fact that this grown, intelligent man would reach into broken glass. So this is basically a great example of the mind virus working really effectively, because he's been given an opportunity to justify why his dad's blood would be there, and he's taking it. Okay, the next two clips are extremely important, and I just want to give you guys a quick warning. At some point, it's going to cut away and we're going to see the giant head of some jurors, because the footage I'm using is what was shown in court, and it was a recording of a recording, and at this point, for some reason, they cut to the jurors. I don't know why, but we're still hearing everything we need to hear.
Is there any reason to believe mom or dad's blood would be somewhere in the house? Have they been injured at all that you're aware of?
Well, my dad scratches his psoriasis till he, gushes blood.
Okay. Gushing, describe gushing to me.
Enough to run down your leg, cover your leg, I suppose, he has it on his knee. My ma's blood, just from her bloody noses she gets sometimes when she wakes up. Not like a regular one, she gets it bad. But she either goes to the kitchen to fix it, her vanity, or the bathroom.
All right, once again, I'm going to put body language aside for this one, because first of all, we learned a lot about body language today, but also I know a lot of you are going to notice things about body language and talk about it in the comments, but I want to talk about what the interrogator did here. He asked a presumptive question, and I love this because we've been talking about those a lot on the channel lately. I uploaded a video 2 weeks ago about types of questions you can ask to get the truth out, so you can learn about presumptive questions in there. Last week, I uploaded a video about false confessions, and we saw great examples of what happens when a presumptive question falls flat. But in this case, we're seeing something so different, and I love that you guys could compare and contrast. So he's being asked by the interrogator, is there any reason your parents' blood would be found anywhere in the house? And presumptive questions plant mind viruses, because what this is meant to do is, if someone's guilty, they go, wait a second, did they find something? Is there something I missed? So let's look at the way he responds. First of all, he talks about his dad's psoriasis. Now, I don't know anyone who has psoriasis, but I looked it up on Google and I did not find a single picture of anyone bleeding. I saw rashes, I saw scabbing, but he is describing gushing blood enough to cover someone's leg. That doesn't happen from rashes. Now, please, if there's anyone who knows this, you know someone who has psoriasis, or any doctors that are watching this, let us know in the comments. Is that something that can happen? Can you scratch psoriasis to the point where it's drenching your leg in blood? Or is this something that he's just saying to basically cover his bases? Then he talks about his mom, who has these insane nosebleeds that apparently require her to leave where her bedroom is and go all the way to the kitchen to take care of it. Because that's what he says. He says, my mom has these nosebleeds. She doesn't even know when they're happening. And sometimes she goes to the bathroom, sometimes her vanity, and sometimes down to the kitchen. So you might find blood pretty much anywhere in the house, because when she has these nosebleeds, she'll go pretty much anywhere to take care of them.
Is there any reason to believe that in either one of their vehicles there would be any of their blood?
Their vehicles?
Yeah. Or anybody's vehicle, let's say that.
Maybe car trash.
Why would they have blood in their car trashes?
Well, my mom does the bloody noses with the air conditioning, so
okay.
when we have air conditioning, my mom will we'll have to use. Bring towels and stuff. My dad hasn't had them as much as she does, but he gets them.
Okay.
His are worse than my mom's.
Once again, we have a presumptive question, this time specifically about blood in the cars. So again, same goal. The interrogator is trying to plant a seed of doubt. Now, a lot of behavior analysts might break down this interrogation, but what I'm about to tell you is very unique. I doubt anyone else is going to talk about this. And the reason for that is I didn't learn this in my studies as a behavior analyst. I learned this as a mentalist, and I can show it to you. Here we go. I've got 2 playing cards here from a deck of cards. I'm going to show them to you and ask you a very simple question. Here they are. Take a look. And this is a very simple question. It's not a trick question, so don't try to see where this is going. Just answer the question out loud. If there's someone next to you, answer the question, what color are these cards? On the front, what color are these cards? So I'm guessing most of you, if not all of you, said they're red, or they're both red, or red, simply. I really doubt that anyone said, well, one of them's red, and then the other one's also red. The reason for that is because the human brain has a reflex, and we've had this ever since we're very young, and it's called categorizing. Our brain instantly and subconsciously groups things that are similar together, and it's not something we can control. And categorizing is the reason magic and mentalism tricks fool you, because your mind makes assumptions when it categorizes. So in his case, he was asked about blood in the cars, and after he did that usual redirect thing where he talked about garbage and trash in the cars and whatever, he said, well, my mom has the nosebleeds, blah, 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 and then my dad also has the nosebleeds. That is just not the way thought works. When he was asked, why would there be blood in the cars? The way your mind would process that is it would evaluate both cars. And if it thought about the nosebleeds, the answer would be, yeah, they both have nosebleeds. The way he's describing it is more of an improvisational conversation, to where he answers one part, then he moves on to the other and he goes, oh, this as well. Another thing that's really noteworthy is that this is the 3rd reason he has listed to justify his father's blood being found. First, we had the fireplace injury, which for sure happened, then the psoriasis, and now these nosebleeds that came out of nowhere. Where were the nosebleeds when we were talking about why there would be blood in the house earlier? Where is the psoriasis now? It's almost as if with each question, he's kind of overcoming this obstacle and then getting to the next one, and we're just lacking this kind of through line.
I think it's time we start talking about what happened to your parents. Like the truthful version.
Okay.
Okay? So we have 20 pages of writing. We're going to start with a clean white piece of paper for you to start telling the truth. We know your parents are no longer with us. Okay? And we know the reason why. Okay? You need to tell the truth. Listen. You need to tell the truth about what happened and just tell us why it happened. Okay? If something happened, if you were defending yourself, or if you just got fed up with stuff.
Initially, he's told, okay, now it's time to say the truthful version. And he perks up and he looks immediately to the other interrogator who was the one he was talking to most of the time. And there's 2 ways to interpret this, and they're basically polar opposites. One way to interpret it is he's looking over what is this guy talking about? That was the truth. He's looking to the person that he connected with out of confusion. That's possible. The second reason is a confirmation glance, where he's looking at the other guy like, wait a second, he's onto this, he knows this is a lie, but I'm checking over here to see, do you agree with that? Because I thought I had you. So it could be that confirmation glance. Let me tell you where I personally stand on this. I didn't see enough shock and surprise to that accusation. With shock, we would see the jaw gives, the eyebrows raise, there's more, the eyelids open up. We didn't see any of that. If this was me and I spent an hour telling you a story and you go, okay, that was great, now tell me the truthful version, I would be surprised, shocked, and angry. I would go on the offense. I'm not seeing any of that. Then, and this is very telling, he's told, we know your parents are no longer with us. And there's almost no reaction. There's this almost like this eye roll, like giving up. So we see a lot of slow blinks throughout this whole thing. Slow blink is when we don't want to deal with something. We also get a lot of these deep exhales. We also get the hands rubbing on the legs. This is pacifying, self-soothing. So a lot of things really not going for him here. But when he's told your parents are no longer with us, at this point, I don't believe in this interrogation that that's public knowledge. He should be shocked beside himself. He should say, whoa, stop, wait, what are you talking about? Why do you know that? Instead, he's still focused on this, oh man, vibe. Now, there is 1 or 2 points where he tries to interject, and I'd be very curious to know what he was going to try to say there. But overall, there's just this vibe of like, oh, just giving up, body language collapsing, exhales. And yeah, so let me know in the comments, what do you think? Do you believe that this is an appropriate reaction and that he's genuinely surprised that they're not believing this and that he's sad or that he's concerned? Or do you agree with me to where this is just not the way you would react to finding out that information?
What happened? Okay,
You know what happened. We're not going to tell you what happened. You know what happened. You were there when it happened. We're not BSing you, okay?
I wasn't there when it happened. Can I?
We know more than you think we know.
I understand. But
There's people that have told us things. We have evidence. We have proof that more has happened. Okay. So your parents never made it to the cabin, and I think you know that.
Here's the one statement I'm going to make regarding his innocence or his guilt, and this is an opinion. I personally believe that the interrogators were this close to a confession in that moment. I don't know to what, I don't know to what extent, but some sort of confession, and I'm going to tell you why. And I'm also going to tell you the thing in this that broke my heart the most. So he's being confronted. Well, he starts by saying what happened, and he looks at the guy over here, and there's 2 ways to interpret that what happened. It's either what happened like to my parents, or what happened I thought we were doing so well. And seconds after that, he goes, they're okay, with a very clear stop gesture. His fingers are flat out like this, and they're going like this over the table. The subtitles kind of block it, but it's going like this. This only happens when we're like, I'm done here. We have to stop this. So he's reaching his rope's end, and we see this stop gesture. Everything is shutting down. And then the guy goes, we know more than you think we know. And he goes, I understand, but, and for the first time in this interview, he looks at the camera. And I think that's where they were going to get him. I think he's going, I get you know, but there's this camera and I'm not ready to sort of talk about it in front of the camera. I think that's what it was, because he looks straight at the camera. And again, there's no surprise that I understand was a very defeated I understand. So I think that's what we're seeing there. And the line that destroyed my heart the most is when the one interrogator said, you were there when it happened? And his response, in his retreatism, he goes, I wasn't there when it happened.
We're not BSing you, okay?
I wasn't there when it happened. Can I?
When what happened? If your story is that they just went away for the weekend and you don't know where they are, you weren't there when what happened? According to you, there was no event. Nothing has happened. I do want to point out one more thing that's sort of an overall theme of this entire interrogation, and that is the fact that his focus is internalized. It's enormously about him. You're in a room with 2 interrogators that are investigating what happened to your parents. You don't have any questions? If it was me, I'd say, hey guys, I'm sorry to change the subject. Do you have any information? Have you heard from them? Does anyone say anything? I'm concerned. Nothing. It's mostly about him. When he does talk about his parents, it's again about his experience with his parents. So typically when we have that much focus internalized about ourselves, that much sort of focus on how we're being perceived and giving our story and selling all these different narratives, it does suggest that something is being held back. But again, I'm not a judge, I'm not the jury, I'm not a forensic analyst. I try to stay away from any of the details of the forensics and only cover the behavioral stuff because that's my field of expertise. At the end of the day, can he be innocent? Yeah, he can. I'm just pointing out behavioral cues that lead me to believe certain things about what's happening here. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know it's a dark subject. We could keep our eyes on it. I will update you guys in community posts, and maybe there'll be a follow-up video depending on how this progresses. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you found most helpful and what your thoughts are on this situation, and I will see you on the next one.